Good morning, and once again welcome to my YouTube channel, Pearson and Excel International Maths by Mr. Kamotho. And in this video I just want to discuss fractional indices. Fractional index is an index that is in a fraction format. And before we even get there, it is important to note that there are some laws of indices that are very basic and fundamental that we must remember every time. And I just want to highlight them here and talk about the laws of indices. The laws of indices. Let me talk about them here. The laws of indices. The laws of indices. And we may remember that if a is raised to power a multiplied by another a raised to power b, this is the same as saying a raised to power a plus b, and the indices are added together. And I just want to give on this other side, I just want to give examples. For example, if we are talking about 2 raised to power 3 times 2 raised to power 2, this is 2 raised to power 3 plus 2, which is 5. And you may want to verify this and call this exactly 32, because this is 3 cubed, which is 8, times 4, which is 2 raised to power 5, which is basically 32. If a raised to power a divided by a raised to power b, this is the same as saying a raised to power a minus b. Again, you subtract the indices, and the same thing just happens here. Like if 3 raised to power 3 divided by 3 raised to power 2, this is the same as 3 raised to power 3 minus 2, which is 1, which is basically a 3. And purely this is just 27 divided by 9, which is eventually a 3. And it is important also to note that if a raised to power minus a, though we will be coming here, this is the same as saying 1 over a raised to power positive a. When a number is raised to a negative index, it is exactly equals to the reciprocal of the same number which is raised now to a positive index. In other words, the index of a number reverses its signs when it is written as a reciprocal. And I want just to remind somebody that when a is raised, okay, let me just give an example of this one. If 2 is raised to a negative 2, this is the same as saying 1 over 2 raised to power 2, which is 1 over 4. We will get here sometimes. If a is raised to power 0, this is the same as 1. Any number whose index is raised to power 0 is the same as saying a 1. I will prove this, and I just want to probably borrow law number 2 and prove this. For example, if 3 raised to power 3 divided by 3 raised to power 3, which is the same as 3 raised to power 3 minus 3, which is 3 raised to power 0, we are saying this is just 1. How does it get to 1? Let us elaborate this further. 3 raised to power 3 is simply 3 times 3 times 3 all over, divide by 3 raised to power 3, which again is 3 times 3 times 3. And of course it goes without saying by 3 1 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 by 3 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. over 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, which is 1. That is how 3 raised to any number raised to power 0 ends up being 1. And now let's get to our business of the day. A raised to power A over B. This is now the fractional index. This is the same as saying the B root of A, where B is the denominator, the B root of A, of course, now everything raised to power A, which was at the numerator. And I'll explain this. We are simply saying when 2 is raised, or rather, when 8 is raised to power 2 over 3. This is the same as saying the cube root of 8. Having done that, we then square the results. And what is the cube root of 8? The cube root of 8 is basically 2. And now 2 raised to power 2, which is a 4. Another example on this one. 9 raised to power 3 over 2. Let's talk about the square root of 9. Of course, when we are dealing with the square root of any number, there is no point of writing the 2 here. But when we are dealing with another root of any other number, it is important to indicate that number there. But now that it's here, there is no problem. The square root of 9, which is a 3, that 3 raised to power 3. So within the bracket, we get 3 raised to power 3, which is basically 27. Having said that, let us just go to example number 1. Example 1 is talking about, let us work out example 1, work out 8 raised to power 1 over 3, which is basically the cube root of 8, everything raised to power 1. And this is cube root of 8 to power 1, which is 2 to power 1, which is easily a 2, which is at the end of the day, answer 2. Fine, that is as far as example 3 is concerned. I have explained the genesis of the laws of indices, and of course you will be able to follow all this. Some of them you don't need to know them now. You just have to remember that something was mentioned so that when we get there, we will understand what it is. Otherwise, that's the end of example 1. Equip yourself with the whole of this information moving forward so that we can find it easy even when we get to further topics. All right.